Hello and welcome to Blueprints Behind Business. I'm your host, Brad Douglas, and today I'm joined by Jim Barnabee with Amy. Jim, thanks for joining us.
I'm very happy to be here. Hopefully, I can be of some use.
Oh, perfect. I'm sure you will be, and I'm sure everyone watching is going to love it. Why don't you kick us off a little bit, brief background of yourself and also your business, Amy?
Sure. So, I basically started out as an engineer. I started out writing code. Then I became a architect to figure out how to put in the code and how to manipulate all the systems. And then from there, I got into artificial intelligence, starting with ontological overlays and moving into actual natural language processing. And that was about 12 years ago. So I've been doing AI stuff for the last 12 years. I have 5 patents in artificial intelligence that I got when I was working with IBM. So I've got a fairly good handle on how it works. I've been a VP of AI, I've been a director of AI, and now I have my own company, Artificial Intelligence Made Easy, or Amy, which does add-ons to other AI systems. So if you have a company that's trying to get an AI project off the ground and you're not sure how to do it, or you've gotten an AI project off the ground, you're not sure how to complete it, or what is more common, you've done a POC and you have this great little AI system that can go access your data and answer questions. How do you make sure that your developers aren't seeing your financial data? How do you make sure that the answers you're getting out of the system make any sense? How do you make sure that your model isn't drifting and creating bias?
Mm.
Because that's obviously, ethical and trustworthiness behavior that you want out of your AI. Those kinds of ancillary services that have to go around a standard AI pipeline in order to make it enterprise ready, that's what we do.
Mm. Very technical, but I think you brought up a few things that others have probably had concern-wise in looking at AI and the security behind it, and obviously the bias that potentially is there. So very interesting on what you guys are doing, and I'm sure we're going to learn even more here as we head forward. But really thinking about this, you mentioned it a little bit. You've got some background. You're with IBM. You've been around the artificial intelligence world for a pretty long time. I think a lot of people think AI and ChatGPT and these different things, but that they're kind of new. But they've been around for a little while. What kind of inspired you to start your own business and take that leap of going that direction now with Amy?
Well, honestly, it was frustration. And I think a lot of people start their business because they see a situation and they can't resolve it.
Mhm.
They don't have the personnel or the time or the corporate structure to be able to resolve an issue that they see. The issue that I saw was that artificial intelligence, the basic artificial intelligence tools are now in the hands of the people. And obviously, 12 years ago, they weren't. What I was trying to do with my business is to get artificial intelligence systems into people's lives. So whether that's a large business that wants to do a full AI system inside their company, or a small business that wants to just use AI for their internal people to be able to access their knowledge base, I think everyone should be able to utilize these tools because it makes your life so much easier and better if you can spend less time doing repetitive things
Mm.
and spend more time being creative. So you get, for example, I wrote a children's book
Oh, nice.
because I wanted to see if I could write a book for 5-year-olds that explained the standard model of subatomic physics, because I happen to think that's neat.
I'd probably have to
So
read your 5-year-old version of that.
eh, it's up on Amazon. Help yourself. It's like 20
Perfect.
pages long. But the whole point was to see if I could use AI to translate what I knew into something creative that other people could use. So I got a 20-page book out of it. It took me probably about 45 hours and probably 300 pages of prompt engineering and recycling and recycling. I always tell people never use generative AI right out of the box.
Hmm.
Never just use what it gives you because it can hallucinate. It'll say things that make no sense. You can craft a prompt that will bring back that the moon is made of green cheese with perfect confidence. So use it, but use it for ideation, use it for replication, use it for fine tuning, like fine tuning images. So I could come up with images for the characters in the book, but then how do you make sure that those images are appealing to a 5 year old, right? So you come up with the idea for the image and then you work it through and work it through and work it through until you get exactly what you want and need. As you get better at the prompt engineering, as you get better at directing these AIs, you can get more precise feedback and more precise results. So I would encourage everybody to just go look at the tools. And the reason I started the company was frustration because I wanted to put these tools in everybody's hands. I think they are just marvelous and they can truly help everyone. And I'd like to see everyone get that benefit.
Right. So since you've gotten started here, have you had any kind of common misconceptions about starting a business? And if you did you have any ways that you could share of how you address those?
Yes. So let me start off with if you are going to start a business, you are going to need help.
Mm,
Nobody can do everything themselves. So when you decide to start a business, concentrate on your value add.
mm,
What is it that your business brings to the table that's different from everyone else? Concentrate on that, make that work. Everything that's outside of that that you can possibly outsource, do it.
mm.
Your documentation, if that's a thing, your accounting, right? Sales, anything that's not directly attributable to your value add as a business, get somebody else to do it. And even if that's get another system to do it. So if, for example, you need an HR system, go get an HR system and just plug into it. I have HR systems and timekeeping systems and workspace systems and all of those things that I don't manage. They're third party pieces of software that I just use. I tie them together, I make them work the way I want, I configure them, but I'm not going to create something that isn't directly related to how I can help people. And as a small business, that's something you should really do.
Fantastic wisdom there, for sure. So many valuable lessons were just given already. But is there anything else that you really wish you would have known when you got started on your journey?
Yes. And this is just a warning. Make sure your contracts are good. Make them as detailed and precise as humanly possible. Get a lawyer to review them. Make sure that you know exactly what you are required to do, and more importantly, what they are required to do. And this is not just for your contracts with your customers, your contracts with your accountants, your contracts with your lawyers. Get those checked. So if you contract with a lawyer, get it checked by a different lawyer. But anytime you sign a legal piece of paper, make sure you've had an expert review it. So that would
Perfect.
be something I would really say. I messed that up a couple of times when I first got started, and I learned from that lesson. So
That's a valuable lesson for sure, and one that I haven't heard in a while. But great advice. Great advice. Now you're you're in the technology world. You're in AI. You're in this area. But when you think about staying adaptable, because things are changing so quickly, can you share how you stay adaptable and innovative? In what you're doing and in your business.
well, obviously, being in my business, I have AIs that go out and look through all of the documentation and everything that's new and actually pull me back reports on a daily basis. So if you aren't doing artificial intelligence for your business, I would suggest finding newsletters or other services. Again, it's not your job to go through every document that comes out and every news release that comes out about your industry. That's not adding value. Outsource that. Find a service, find a newsletter, and get the data from them on a daily basis to keep you up to date. Now, it may require that you get information on something and you need to go do some more research, but that will at least cut 80% of the work off your plate. And when you're running a small business, you don't have enough time to do anything. So the more you can outsource to a different situation, the better. So that would be my advice. Again, get another system to give you that information. And
Mm-hmm.
maybe that's because I'm very much a systems AI guy.
Sure.
But I found that I have 6 or 7 newsletters and 10 or 12 websites that I watch. And I have a system that just concatenates all that and gives me a daily report. So
Beautiful. Great, great information. So without giving away too much, can you give us a little glimpse into the future and maybe some thoughts on some plans that you have going forward?
sure. So I don't know how much the audience knows about current legal situations, but the European Union just released some new laws on artificial intelligence, and America has a set outcoming, China has a set, Africa has a set, etc. So, in those laws, there are certain requirements for AI systems, such as you have to provide documentation on bias
Hmm.
or ethics or how your model works or your role-based access control. So I mentioned earlier developers seeing financial data, right? All of those things are required. You have to document it and submit that documentation to the country in Europe where you want to actually release your application, and that goes to the EU. So in the future, what we're going to see is more regulation
Hmm.
and more requirements for systems to be verified to be ethically correct and trustworthy. Many people are using the generative AI systems now, and they are seeing that often they produce garbage,
Hmm.
and often, well, not often anymore, but in a percentage of time, they'll produce stuff that doesn't make any sense. And they won't correlate their efforts on data to who's supposed to see it.
Hmm.
So things like that you have to be able to prove. And I think what we're going to see in the future is more regulation and more requirements of proof of the various things ancillary to the actual just retrieval of data. So that's the first thing I think we're going to see. The second thing I think we're going to see is AI getting into most people's jobs. I get
Hmm.
asked the question a lot, is AI going to take my job? And the
Yeah.
answer is always no. No. The
Yeah.
guy sitting next to you using AI, he's going to take your job.
Great point.
The AI itself is just a tool. It's just going to sit
Mhm.
there. But the guy next to you who knows how to use it and can do 40, 50% more in the same amount of time, that's something you can't compete with unless you can use the tool the same way. So I would just encourage everybody to stay abreast of the things in their industry and how to gain their market share is going to be built based on how they can differentiate. So look at your core value add, make sure that's a differentiator, and then keep up to date with anything that's going to impact that value add. And in the case of AI, where my business is concerned, that's upcoming regulation and changes in the technology itself, which are pretty daily. So,
All right. I'm sure you're staying busy just keeping up. So
yeah.
no, wonderful advice. To kind of wrap it up here, is there anything finally that you would, want to provide some wisdom on for any other inspiring entrepreneurs, especially with now that we have such technology that we have these days, we have AI, these types of tools, and if they're looking to get started, what kind of advice could you give them?
So I would give 2 pieces of advice. One, plan ahead. So before you actually start your business, before you open those doors, make sure you have all of your ducks in a row. When I say all of your ducks in a row, I mean your back end processes.
Hmm.
Make sure you have your business insurance. Make sure you have your HR system. Make sure you have your timekeeping system. Get those things set up, hooked into each other, so that when you open those doors, you're ready to accept customers on day one. So that would be my first piece of advice. And the second piece of advice, because we're talking about AI in my company, is specifically find the best tool you can afford. If you are a small business starting out, you're not going to have the budget for a multi-million dollar tool or a $10,000 tool. Find something that does what you need at the smallest price possible to keep your expenses down. And there are a lot of systems out there that can do that. You just have to do a little research and you can find them. And the AI can help you with the research. So there you go.
There you go. Oh, great wisdom. Well, thank you so much for your time today, Jim. I'm sure everyone out there watching is going to really appreciate your thoughts and your nuggets of wisdom. To everyone watching, I look forward to seeing you in our next episode.